Ryan here, back with your weekly Money Minutes. We're out in Soho today on another definitely hot summer day, but we're out here for you guys as always. Now, we've been getting a lot of questions. I think over the last couple of years, we've been getting more and more of this question: should I be renting or should I be looking at buying a place to live in? And I feel like for generations, buying a home has always been the big goal. It's the big American dream. And it's really the first step that a lot of people do when they got into their 20s.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing that any longer. And the question is, does it make sense for you? And we're gonna go today over 5 things that you guys can think about of does it make sense to rent and does it make sense to buy? It's really gonna depend on where you live and what the prices are in that area, but we'll go through a few things that all of you can take in consideration when you're looking at making those decisions.
All right, number one, how long are you actually gonna be in this location? I've heard a lot of people say, hey, I'm gonna live in this apartment for a couple of years or house, then I'm gonna flip it, make a lot of money, go into a new place. That sounds great, but that's not reality. We have no idea what the market's gonna look like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Also, the transaction costs that go along with real estate are high. It can cost you like 5-6% to get out of your property. The other thing is, it costs money to renovate, buy furniture, all that stuff that's out of your pocket, and to decide in 3 years or 4 years you're gonna go buy another place, you're gonna have all those costs all over again. So a good rule of thumb is the longer you stay in your home, the more those costs are spread out and the more chance you have to make money as an investment on your property over time.
The second thing is you need to compare what the overall cost is of buying versus renting. Because I hear this a lot where people say, oh, okay, the mortgage is gonna be this amount and renting is this amount. But when buying a home, there are a lot of other costs involved, like real estate taxes, you have homeowners association dues, but also all those things that your landlord does right now, like when your AC breaks and you just call someone and it's fixed by the time you get home from work.
By the way.
That's gonna come out of your pocket now. And so it's good to keep in mind that there's gonna be a lot of extra costs that you need to factor in when you're making that comparison of buying versus renting.
Even crazier, here in New York, a lot of times, just the carrying cost of your real estate can be more than what it costs to rent. And when you have to start figuring those things out, sometimes it might be even cheaper to rent than actually own. All right, number 3 is taxes. With the new tax law, it's not as advantageous to own real estate anymore. A lot of times now you're limited on the interest you can actually deduct. And even worse, your SALT, or state and local taxes, may be phased out depending on if you're in New York, New Jersey, California. A lot of times you can't deduct the cost anymore of owning, which is crazy, which even makes it less attractive to potentially own real estate.
Number 4, look at what kind of interest rate you can be getting on a mortgage right now. And this has actually been some positive news here, where interest rates are really low right now, and the average mortgage is under 4% right now, whereas 30 years ago, most people were paying in the double digits for their mortgage interest. So it's actually a pretty attractive time to be borrowing money. But it's also a reason why if you are looking to buy a home, it's better to get a fixed rate mortgage and lock it in at those lower rates. Because if interest rates start to rise back to kind of where they have been historically, you don't want to get stuck with your interest payments going up over time.
Okay, and number 5, to kind of wrap things up here, again, it's about opportunity cost. Again, you got to look at what does it cost to rent versus what does it cost to own, because home ownership is not just paying your mortgage, money in your pocket. There's a lot of costs associated with that. The other thing you have to look at is, could my money be doing better somewhere else? Like if I take a mortgage out, am I better off to have my money in the market? Or, where's the best place to put your money, where it's going to work the hardest? For example, the market did a lot better than the real estate market for the last decade. Now, is that going to be true for the next decade? I'm not sure. In your market that you specifically live in, you really got to run that analysis of opportunity cost. A good litmus test that you can use is looking at how much rent is in your market versus how much is the cost of ownership. Like in New York, it can be a tough decision. Sometimes it's way cheaper to rent than to own. For example, I've given this before. I'm from Philadelphia. Philadelphia real estate's a lot cheaper. A lot of times owning is actually cheaper than renting, might be a better buying opportunity. So bottom line is there's a lot of nuances, not just the math, just not the numbers. There's emotional considerations of owning your place, how long you're gonna be there. So I guess the point is it really has to be individualized to you. Just because your friend bought doesn't mean you should. Just because your friend rents doesn't mean that you need to rent. You got to figure out in context of what your goals, what your plans are. It can't just be a hard, fast rule.
Now, if you're thinking, I can really use some help making some of these decisions, I'm not sure if I should rent or buy, we do complimentary financial reviews every week. So send an email with this header to moneyminutes@paymcm.com and see if you qualify for one of those financial reviews. And we're more than happy to run those numbers to see what makes sense in your own personal situation.
You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, get timely, updated weekly content about your finances. And as always, be bullish.